What if everything that you've ever been taught about sales is completely fall on its face, fall on its face wrong? Today's guest is a dear friend and a brother of mine, and he is a top performing, like President's Award over and over, sales savant inside a Fortune 50 company by doing the exact opposite of the high pressure, hard close playbook. And here's what nobody's talking about. Real sales isn't about the close, it's about connection. Welcome back to the Mind of George show. This is the place where you know as an entrepreneur and discover that true scaling isn't about strategies, tactics, sleazy hacks, or even, in today's episode, high pressure, hard close, crappy playbooks. It's about aligning your mindset, your message, your customer journey, and marketing to create sustainable growth that feels authentic and aligned to who you are. We cut through the noise to help you build a business that matters and make money doing it. And we get real with my brother, Joe Graham. We talk about why follow-up is the real moneymaker, how to sell with integrity and still dominate your market or industry, the truth about quote unquote timeline selling and why most people get it wrong, and the mindset shift that separates closers from coaches. And here's the thing, sales is not about convincing somebody. It's about caring enough to understand them. And today's conversation might just change how you sell forever. So if you actually want to sell without feeling slimy and having people hate you, if you're tired of the quote unquote pressure to perform sales culture, or if you're ready to build a business by building real relationships, then this episode is for you. And I'm so excited to dive in with my brother. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Mind of George Show. Today, I am incredibly excited. I'm joined by one of my friends who probably is the most humble savage when it comes to selling and connection, but he won't ever say that. But I've had the incredible pleasure of knowing this man, being on his show. We've broken bread together, and he's somebody that I love. He's near and dear to my heart. And I love his perspective. And what I also love about his perspective on selling or focusing on the connection before the close is that most people are like, oh yeah, whatever, except he has the accolades to back it up. And the numbers kind of blow your mind when you start to realize that he's in a Fortune 50 company and keeps winning award after award after award by focusing on so many things that we talk about. So I'm excited to dive in today. I'm excited to welcome with love my dear friend, Joe Graham. So Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you, George. I love being on your show and being in your world.
Yeah.
You're the reason I got into doing a lot of the stuff I do outside of the sales world that I'm known for. So
I love it, man. And I think I want to dive right in. I'm like, we're in an interesting time right now. And as somebody who lives on the front line, you know the entrepreneurs that listen to the show, you listen to the show, you've been on the show, you coach and speak to entrepreneurs. Have you noticed anything or seen anything as of like 2025 where selling is different or things are different than they were 2, 3, 4 years ago?
no, I think it's just new brands of it coming out, meaning like you have your super intense people that want to rip your shirt off and yell at you and tell you have to do a certain thing, which really doesn't work. But you had that 10, 15 years ago with different names. It's just the rebrand of it. Sales really doesn't change because sales is relationship. Now, the gimmicks and what people try to pitch at you or tell you have to do this to make it work, that changes, but that's because they're trying to make money off of you instead of actually help you sell.
Well, I think that what you just said is the first place to start. And feel free to give us like a mini TED Talk on this one, because you just said sales is about helping people. Like sales is not about tactics. It's not about, slimy gimmicks. It's not about just getting their credit card, which I think so many people potentially believe in their hearts, but logically they're taught something completely different. And so could you give us like a mini masterclass on like what that means from your lens, who's somebody who is like has the experience and has the accolades and does this every day?
Yeah, and full disclosure, I started out being the guy trying to do the gimmicks because I had no clue. Like I was just like, oh, if I say this, they have to do this. If I pressure them here, they'll do that. And it just didn't feel congruent for me. It felt bad and icky. Like I couldn't do it because I wasn't authentic. Because in relationships, first and foremost, you have to be authentic. So the reason why I sell the Fortune 50 companies and above sometimes, it's because of the fact that I treat them like we're talking right now, George. I'll talk to a CEO like we're talking here. And they have $1 million company or $1 billion companies. I don't care because I need to find out what is their need, what is their problem, what is the issue they're facing, not what do I want to sell them, what do I want them to get from me. It's always in relationship has to be about them first. In sales, if you're just pitching and talking about your client or your stuff, they're not going to care. I actually did. I went off on a guy. I did. It wasn't mean, but it was out of love. But he's like, I'm like, give me your pitch. And everyone comes to me and goes, hey, Joe, how do you get these people? And he just started talking about his company, his brand, how he wanted to work with this company because he saw it great for him. I go, why do they care? This is like being on a date. If you're just talking about yourself, the girl's going to walk away. You had to find out about them. What's their needs? What's their problems? And then you can start to actually set it up. I think too many times we just see the fake Lambo boys or the people that get super intense and get you into an emotional state, but an emotional state also with the super highs and lows will make it to where you don't actually have a lifetime buyer. You get buyer's remorse and chargebacks because you hype them up instead of following the path to get them to value versus cost, which is what I try to do. And I would tell people right from the go, let's make sure this is a good fit for both of us. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not going to sell you something I can't provide for you or if it's not a good fit. It might be a good fit for Tim, but it might not be a good fit for you, George. So I will not sell you anything that I can't feel justified with it. I've literally walked away from deals, like really good deals before and told people, no, I'm not going to coach you because I wasn't congruent. And they're like, well, wait a minute, I'll pay you $5,000. I'll pay you 10 grand. I don't care. It's not to me about the money. It's about my brand, who I am as a person, and how it will actually affect them too. Because if you come at it from the aspect of I'm going to help first, it comes back to you. It's that Bible principle that you've seen before. If you sow, you reap. Well, guess what? If you sow, you're going to reap. It's the same thing. So what are you putting out there?
Yeah, I love it, and I also want to highlight the fact that in what you were saying, you're speaking about the fact that it's about being mutually beneficial. Too many times people hype up or they're trying so hard to get the yes that they pressure the yes or they force the yes. But what they don't think about is the long-term consequences of that reputation, relationships, and I think one of the things that people don't think about often is they get that short term revenue, but it leads to long term lost revenue because of the damaged reputation and the damaged relationship. And I also think that there's hidden cost associated as well, because when it's not mutually beneficial or you can't get them the result and it becomes something where that person you sold to is like, I'm not getting what I desired. This isn't what I asked for. This isn't what I signed up for. You have more cost associated with you supporting that client as well. Overhead, team, back and forth communication. So I think there's this whole like cesspool or black Pandora's box of unknown when you don't focus on the relationship and you share that way. And I think one of the things that I see a lot, right? You coach people on selling. You are so in as an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, you know entrepreneurs. But one of the things that I see, and I would love your thoughts on this, is that everyone thinks that a sales cycle always has to fit in this one timeline, right? Like it's one call or it's just in this 30-minute call, or I have a clarity call and then they're going to close, or I have a clarity call to a sales call, and everybody tries to like control the time in which it takes to close a deal. And I would just love your unfiltered thoughts on that.
Every deal's different. You have to have a sales customer journey. I learned that from coming to your events. I think so many times people think if I do this script right, or if I do the straight line method, or if I do the grant method or this method, they're going to buy and then they burn through people. But first, you need to know what type of client you're dealing with. In the B2B world that I work with, average time is 6 to 9 months to close a deal, but the payday's way, way better. If you're working in the consumer market, it might be that same week if it's like a low hanging fruit product. But like if I'm getting someone into my coaching, typically it's a month to 5 months, depending because they need to get into my world. They need to trust me. They need to see the results and they need to see the consistency over time because most people fail because they're not consistent over time. They become the new crypto coach or the new whatever the new thing is, AI coach. Like, I'm like, dude, you were doing really good in this thing. How I win is I just keep showing up. I keep building the relationship and I let it develop naturally. But there's a caveat. I have so many relationships going on purpose and intentional. I don't have to just close George right now. I can talk to Tim, Fred, Sally, Bill. I have so much in my pipeline. I'm not getting the commission's breath or the I'm so desperate for it. And the best strategy for you is the one that you'll use and that you can do comfortably when you're in the process. So, like, have I done the super high intense closes? Yep. Can I do them really well? Yep. Am I a badass when I want to be? Sure. But I'd rather it be just the general conversation flow, make them think that I'm actually a business owner. Most of the time, when people get off the phone with me, I operate as a business owner, not a sales guy. So they don't even think about it. Like I'll talk to CEOs of like, you don't sound like a sales guy. I go, yeah, because I'm looking at this from a business perspective. I'm not looking at it from just a sales perspective. But a lot of people get caught in that because guess what? You have three people you talk to. And if you don't get those three people, you're not going to pay the light bill, you're not going to pay the rent bill, whatever. But think of it this way, if you had 30 people, now you have the law of averages. Now you can work the relationships and get three of them this month, three of them next month. I think it's really a funnel problem or a people in your role problem. And we overestimate what we can do in a year. But if you look over the last 10 years of my life, holy crap, Batman, I'm way, way farther ahead than what I thought I would be. But I'm still got that I'm going to get better. I'm going to do more. What's the next mountain? And it's just that balance of both.
Yeah, that leads me into a thought that I have because I'm putting myself in the seat of like I always have something to learn, right? And I love relationships. You know, you and I see the world the same way. I focus on building and nurturing relationships, and the rest of it handles itself. But I heard you say something underneath that, and even answering the question about each sale is different, each timeline is different. But I think a lot of the times people end up focusing on the wrong things. And what I see, and I would love your thoughts on this, is I see people like if I just show up, like if I just post, if I just tell people about this thing, if I let them know I offer this thing, then they're magically just going to show up and raise their hand and be like, hey, I want to buy that thing. I want to do that thing. And I see that all the time. And so I would love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, they're just praying and spraying. What they're doing is they're putting content out, but there's not an intentional selling system behind it, for lack of a better term. They're so focused on, well, I'm going to do this, and this would just get the person to come. But in reality, you have to post. And then when people comment or like on your post, you got to take it to the next level. I'll reach out to people that comment and said, hey, just wanted to check and touch base with you. Is this something that you're interested in, or you're just trying to support me? Because I got a lot of really cool friends that support me. The likes, and I go to them because I'm like, look, I'm building my pipeline, my networking, who I can be with. I'll start reaching out to them as well. But everything I do is intentional. Like if you've been following my stories as of lately, it shifted. I did some on sales, I did some on like finding your ideal client, then I switched into follow up. But now I'm into more story mode again because people buy from stories more so than the other because they need to relate with you. So I've been talking about my half marathon. I've been talking about waking up to a life you love living, no rules. Well, what does that mean? Well, then I just posted some mission statements and I was playing around on Chat GPT. And I even said, I'm not an AI expert. I don't train on AI. I don't care about that. But I thought this was cool. Again, you have to be relevant, have insight into what you're doing, but you have to have intention behind it. Or you're just hoping I did this post and it popped up. Well, what if you got 1,000 people from that post and you don't have the back end in place to take care of them? You just screwed yourself with 1,000 people. It's better to grow slow in the beginning and build your brand and get your systems in place so you can help them.
Yeah, and I think I want to go a little bit deeper too because you said this and I don't want to let it be passed over because this is something I've taught and done for years, which is posting content, right? Like letting somebody know, for anybody listening to this, that I have a product, that I have an offer, that I have a coaching program, that I have consulting, I do events, or maybe you sell a supplement or a swimsuit, or you build AI systems for people or do ops or podcast management. Like posting is like, maybe for a lack of better metaphors, like putting a billboard up on the side of the road. But then every time somebody stops to look at it, i.e., they comment or like, you create the initiative to then engage with them. You don't just leave it as like somebody who raised their hand. You follow up. And that doesn't mean you're following up to try to get to close them. What you're gauging is interest. And you're like, I'm
Mhm.
being intentional. Like you walked into my store And I'm curious, can I help you look around? Is there anything you're interested in? And you're building and nurturing that relationship. And I think that that's something, and maybe I answered it, but I just wanted to say that because I know that you do this very, very well. I mean, we've been friends online. I don't even know how long we've known each other in real life, but you constantly check in on me, constantly. Like I feel like a bad friend half the time. And I'm like, I love you, Joe. Thank you so much for following up and checking in with me. And you're very intentional about your actions and behaviors. But what I feel over and over, and even from all the people that we have mutual friends in common with, they all say the same thing. You're so intentional. You just put the effort into watering the seeds in the garden. You stay top of mind. People think about you. You put your energy where it really, really matters when it comes to relationships. And then someone's like, I need sales coaching. I'm like, there's only one guy I know. I probably know 50, but there's only one I think about. And it's because you like pour water on the garden. And so, I think I'm just adding a thought to this where I love how you said, you might have a post go viral and you might have this big swing, but if your back end isn't there to support it, or if you get overrun or overwhelmed, and I think people try to skip the race or start, skipping steps in the race, it's more important to be intentional about the relationships and make sure that like when you have somebody's attention that you nurture it and you build that relationship, because I think it's about leadership, right? It's not about just sitting back and waiting. I remember doing a podcast, I don't know, 5 years ago, called Kevin Costner Lied to You. If you build it, they don't come.
I remember
Right.
that one.
Yeah,
Yep.
you remember that one? And it's this same concept. And so I love the way that you talk about it and think about it. And I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate. I'm just really curious on your thoughts because I see this and I hear this and I've been asked this question. Well, I don't have time to follow up. I don't have time to nurture all those relationships. Like, what's your response to that?
Have you actually checked into what you're doing? Because if you don't have time to follow up with your clients, with the people you're trying to help, you probably shouldn't be in business. Actually, I had a mutual friend of ours, Cameron Harold. I believe he was on your
Mhm.
show as well. And he said this, and I agree 100%. 97% of people shouldn't be entrepreneurs. If you're building a business, if you're building a brand, and you're building a relationship, and you're reaching out, then you make time. You're probably not auditing what you're doing because most sales guys I deal with, most people I deal with think they're busy, but they're busy with stuff that's not important. You have to be intentional with your time. I time block. People hate this term, but I've won 4 President Circles awards from a Fortune 100 company. I'm sitting number 2 in the nation for a Fortune 50 company right now. I'm going to be number 1 by the end of this month because I'm intentional with my time. My day is set every day, with sometimes I'll make exceptions to come on amazing shows like yours, but where I'm going to be doing certain things at certain times of the day. And it's the thing we've talked about before that I think you're the one that got me to it, ceilings and floors.
Yep.
I'm going to hit a minimum of X every day. And then there's going to be days and I'm going to just crush it. Well, here's the thing. I crush things well. Like I've gotten a little bit more confident in the fact that I know I do things really well before I'd be like, oh no, it's nothing. And then people are like, no, this is not nothing. Because once you make it into a muscle and it becomes normal for you, it doesn't seem like it's the same amount of work. So I would say to everyone listening, audit your time. If you don't have time to run your business, maybe you should go work for someone else. I know that's not what you want to hear, but sometimes you need the truth. Second, if you don't know what to say, that's why you're not reaching out. And third, because you're thinking about you instead of them. So first, be intentional. We've said it a bunch. Second, have the right things to say to help them that affects them because you again need to draw them into your world. And third, block it out every day. You could block out an hour a day to get all the stuff that you're thinking you don't have time to follow up on because follow up's where the money is in reality because 90% of people don't really follow up.
I I think the best thing, all of that lands and resonates so true. But the one thing that it just tickled me deeply that I've learned personally and probably has been the biggest needle mover for me in my life and business is follow up is the moneymaker. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and money, I'm not even talking about revenue. Following up with friends that I think about or after I see them is the depth of the relationships that we have. And I love your call out on knowing where and how you're spending your time. And I think that's probably another big mistake or something I bump into with private clients is like time creep becomes very real. We get stuck in the pill bottle and we're like, I'm doing all of these things, but we're not taking a step back to look at like, okay, but what result is it creating? if any, and if it's not, or if it is, what am I doing that's creating that result, right? And is simple for people listening, like tangible examples. Ones that I do a lot and a lot of times is like when I get new followers on social media, the first thing I do is I shoot them a message and I thank them for paying attention to me. And you'd be shocked to be like, God, I don't have time to do that. I've had some of the most incredible relationships formed. I've had clients come from me just shooting a DM the first time they followed me, some of them in a week, some of them bought an event ticket. Some 7 months later were like, hey, can we talk about coaching? And I'm like, oh, I'm really glad I sent that DM. Right.
Yep.
And so I love your call out of like auditing your time and being aware, because for most people listening to this, I'll make it really, really simple. In your business, and I'm going to drastically simplify business right now, but there's marketing, sales, and delivery, right? It's
Mhm.
those three buckets. And I think when you look at where you're spending your time in those buckets, like marketing is letting people know that you exist, advertising your home per se. Sales is giving them an open house and a tour and seeing if they qualify to purchase that home. And then delivery is they're like, yes, I buy your home. Please help me move in and have like the best experience ever. But you have to have an awareness as an entrepreneur of what you're doing and where you're spending your time in those buckets. And I see it. And I don't know about you, for the people you coach, I see people that have almost like incongruent values. I don't even know the word, like skewed values, where they'll spend all their time in marketing and sales and none in delivery. And then they're just trying to feed this machine that everyone's leaking out the back. Or the other side, where they spend all their time in delivery, but then no one knows that they exist, where they're like, I can't get on a sales call, I can't close. And I would submit that all of them are equally important, but you have to know where you're spending your time. Would that be a fair summary of what you said?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you have two options here. One, find someone that's really good at the other part and partner with them. Or two, evaluate and figure out where it's leaking. If you're not getting enough clients, you're not marketing enough. If you're not closing enough deals, your message is not landing. And then if they're running out the back door once you get in, your message sounds great, but you're not delivering it. All three have to flow. And I do want to make this point because I know I can sound hustle culture, and there are days where I work 12, 15 hours because I like it. But there's also days I literally just did a post. I go, yeah, I'm a top closer for a Fortune 50 company. Guess what? It's 3:30. I've worked 6 hours. I'm done for the day. I'm going to sit on the couch with my puppies and watch baseball. Why?
There you
Because
go.
I needed time to refresh, reflect, and I like to do that. My wife and I like to sit and watch baseball. It's our thing. Now, a lot of teachers would tell you, you can't do that. You have to grind 12, 14 hours a day. Well, let's define this first. What is success to you? Is
Mm,
success being a multimillionaire or a billionaire? I don't want to be a billionaire. That's a lot of work. I, I don't want to deal with that. But, for a lot of people, making 200, making 500, making 750, making a million a year, and still having time with their family to do stuff is way better than making 20, 30 million a year or 200. First, I think you have to go back and define what do you really want. And a lot of times I think we fall into doing businesses because I did. Like I came to the event that you rescued, and that's why you came in my world. You gave 6 hours at an event that had blown up. And I'm like, holy crap, this guy's legit. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bet again. I came to your event. But I had to learn the process because in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I can just help sales coach. Well, what does that mean? There's so many sales coaches out there. Ain't no one gonna reach out to you for saying I help sales coach. So then I had to dial it in. Okay, cool. I can help you find your ideal client. Well, what does that mean? There's so many different ideal clients. I'm like, cool. I'm a Fortune 50 closer, top closer. I can help you talk to CEOs, CFOs, and get them to actually respond. All of a sudden, I dialed that in and I started getting people responding. But here's the funny thing. It wasn't B2B people. It was other people, entrepreneurs going, well, wait a minute. If you can talk to CEOs of major corporations and get them to respond to offers and stuff, then you can help me do this. So first, you got to know where you're going. Second, you have to understand the process of what you're looking to do and niching down. This is what true niching down is. It's not that you and only help one group. It's just that you dial in your zone of expertise so that those people start coming to you, but then other opportunities start popping. I can't say the name, but I'm helping a startup right now. Had nothing to do with finding their ideal client. They just had been in my world for a few years. They're like, hey, can you come help us with our sales system? Well, if you could pay me, yeah, because my time is valuable. That's something I had to learn too, because when you first met me, I was giving everything away.
hmm
And I'm sitting here, oh, I can help you. And I'm sitting here going, oh, sure. Oh, $100. I got you for $100. You're getting access to all my knowledge and wisdom for $100. That doesn't happen now. And don't take that wrong. There are times that I still will go and help people because I want to. But again, now it's I want to, not that I feel obligated.
Mm. I love that you said that because earlier I was going to ask you a question, and I think that this is a good time when you talk about valuing your time, knowing where you spend your time, knowing how you spend your time. I see this and I hear this more frequent than I would like to, where people like, I don't get paid to follow up with them, right? Like, I don't want to get on another call with them, right? Like, I already did a 1 hour call like a month and a half ago, and they've emailed me a few times, and like, I'm just moving on. And I see this all the time. And I have an interesting perspective because you and I are super similar to this. We've talked about this for years. Like, I operate in Go Giver 101. And if my clients are handled and my kids are fed and I have the time, I choose to give it to people. But there are deals in business where I've spent 7 months courting people and not even courting, just showing up. I'm there when they need me. And then one day they're like, I can't do this anymore. I need to pay you. And that turned
Mhm.
into a 6 figure deal. And I've had it on the other side where the same things happened and it's turned into, a couple $1,000s or somebody coming to an event. I see them the same because it's congruent with like what I believe. But like, what's your answer to the people who are like, no, 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 they only get right, or they can't speak to me till they pay me, or they can't get on my calendar till cash is collected. Like these things that we've seen for years, I still see them happening.
It's a sales play because it's wanting you to put out that you're more important than the client, which doesn't coincide well with me congruently. Now, there will come to a point where I have to say, hey, I've talked to you 5 to 6 times. I've given you everything I can. Anything else going forward, you're going to have to, pay me because this is my business. I can't just give it away to you for free. But that's like an exception. I think people do that because of, well, one, if they get to a certain level, they need to because they can't. They have too many people come in. There are people like that, like you know, certain people that are multi-million-dollar companies and they only have so much time. Yeah, they're going to do that. But if you're out here wanting to coach people and help people, your door should always be open. The reason why you don't want to follow up is you don't have a follow up system. Your follow up system is pay me and I'll help you. That's not a follow up system. That's about you again. If you have a
Mm,
follow up system going, okay, cool, George, what is it that you're needing from me today? And I can answer that one thing, great. Now I just planted the seed that I answer questions for you and I got you to do a yes. And I just keep getting you to do different yeses along the path to the point where it's like, look, man, we've talked 4 or 5 times. I really think you should get into this program with me because we can go a lot deeper. I've been giving you some high level stuff. Has it helped you? And I'll ask them 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes, because I know my stuff's good. And then I'm like, cool, well, let's go a little bit layer deeper. It's X. And sometimes like, it's X. I go, yeah, you do realize that I do this for Fortune 50 companies. I do this for high end level clients. And then also know where your prices are because who do you want to help? Because in the beginning, and I'll tell you, I've raised my prices on purpose because I found the more I charge, I'll be honest, the better the results, the more they put in, the less headaches. It doesn't mean that I don't have a low ticket offer, but I'm very selective even with that now because in the beginning, you have to understand who you're helping and what they need, and can you give that to them? I'd rather honestly right now have 5 clients pay me 5 grand a month instead of 20 to 30 clients paying me 1,000. Why? Because my time is valuable. I have other things that I'm doing, but it doesn't mean I don't care. It just means that I know where I'm at and what I want to do. And then it's just going back to what is it that you're looking to accomplish? Who are you trying to help? And what is the brand you're building? So, yeah, now every once in a while, if I don't feel right about it, I'll say, okay, cool, you pay me because I'm trying to get them to go away. I know that's mean, but I'm like, cool, sure. So here, I'm going to send you an invoice and we can talk. But that's because I know they're not congruent with me.
mm. Yeah, you said something a minute ago, and I want you to repeat it. You were talking about even in that bucket, like knowing your clients, knowing what they desire, what they need. What were the three things that you said?
You need to know what your client is looking for. You need to understand the journey and where they're at in that journey. And then you need to know if you're able to actually help them with it or if you need to refer them to someone else. I do this all the time. I
You
refer
do.
people away all the time. It blows people away. I'm like, nope, I can't help you. But my friend George can help you, or my friend Gabe can help you, or my friend Brian can help you. Why is that? Because it comes back. We talked about the sowing and reaping principle. We've talked about manifestation for your people that maybe aren't as biblical. It's that same thing, but you have to be. I only want to work with people I like. I'll be fine.
Mhm.
I don't want to work with a. I don't want to work with people I don't like. I don't care if you have multi-million dollars. I do not care. I don't want to work with you. I
Yep.
know enough people and I can build enough relationships that I don't have to work with people I don't like. The problem is most people can't do that because they didn't do what we were doing in the beginning, which was building the relationship, being the brand, doing little touches. And we've talked about this before. When I'm touching and reaching out, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just checking in. I'm asking about the day. I'm remembering something that they told me about themselves. Why? Because people love to be told about themselves. And when you cultivate that enough, then you can pick and choose more of what you want.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something on that. I want to talk about talk about relationships just to start your brain going of like, 3 to 5 things that you love or values or principles that you operate by in relationships. But even in that, I want to call out a devil's advocate for a thought that hit my intuition. I don't believe this, but I had the thought. So I know other people had the thought as well. Where it's like, well, it's almost like you're manipulating people, like you're speaking to them so that they can hear about themselves, that they feel seen and heard, and or that you're just intentionally touching them or guiding them. 100% yes. True. Just like with our kids, we intentionally speak into them on what we see possible for them. And we
Mhm.
intentionally mirror things back to them because we want our kids to be the best versions of ourselves. And in our businesses, if we see that we, to Joe's point, know where they are at their journey, know what they're desiring, and know that we can help them, we do have the ability to influence that. And almost I feel like a requirement or a service to give that away. And so I wanted to say that because my God brain was like, oh, boom, Spidey sense. I don't believe that, but I still have it too. And what I've learned, because you've mentioned authenticity a ton, I live and breathe authenticity. Not like I'm perfect, that God humbles me every day, but I try to be as authentic as possible. The difference between it feeling slimy or manipulative and empowering and supportive is authenticity. Because the other thing that's underneath everything that you've said, and you just hit this again for everybody listening, is if you speak into somebody and you know that you can help them and they come in and they're like, oh, this doesn't feel right. You're like, amazing. Let me know how I can support you. Or amazing. I know somebody else who can help you. Or I don't think I can. And it's that authenticity that makes it feel the best. And so I wanted to like throw that out there real quick because I know somebody was having the thought. And so I'm like, I got you. I'm in your heads if you're listening to this. Um, but I want to talk about relationships because you and I see the world the same, but I always love your perspective. And you're talking about follow up. You're talking about being intentional with your time. You're talking about working with clients you love, how you value what you want in your life, and then you kind of build your business to support that. So I would love to hear, and you don't have to say them all at once, but like your top like 3 to 5 tenets or principles that you use in relationships that allow you to achieve the things that you've achieved, whether it's follow-ups, whether it's sales, whether it's connections, whether it's networking. Like I would just love to hear your thoughts.
First, do I like the person? Like I base it first and foremost off of how I feel when I'm around them or how I feel with their content or who they know. So first, I'm always going to look and say, okay, cool. They're friends with George, they're friends with Tim, they're friends with whoever. Okay, these people won't be with crazy people. So I'll start talking there. But then also, how do I want to be treated? I was the kid that was bullied. I was the kid that was picked on. I was the kid that was the oddball. I didn't know that being an entrepreneur would make you so odd. Like I saw the world so differently that I ended up being the disruptor. And I was also the guy that would ask the questions. So getting into this space and getting into building relationships, I had to rewire my brain to understand, well, why do people act a certain way? Like you could tell me go make 200 calls so I'll be successful. And I'm just stupid enough to go, oh, cool. Or I'm just smart enough to go, cool, I'll go make 200 calls. I'm going to be successful. It's great. Most people can't do that. They can't just make themselves do that. What I found was I have the ability just to do things that most people don't want to do over a period of time. And that's why I'm successful. Um, but I had to learn how can I help them from their perspective, not mine, first and foremost. Second, what is their mission in the world? Does it align? Is it congruent with me? Because there's a lot of people out there that teach sales, but I'm not congruent with them and I won't align with them and I won't be with them because it's not going to benefit me in the long run? Because in the end, let's just be honest, self-interest is important. I know that everyone wants to be, oh, I'm always helping people and all, but we're all still selfish to a degree. It's human nature. It's not a bad thing. You still should actually, I've had to learn to be more selfish because again, I was selfless for so long, but beating myself up because I was too worried about what they thought. So here's the second point. And it took me a second. I know I went on a little ramble there. Don't care as much about what they think. Care about how the world can be made better, or is this a relationship that will mutually benefit both of you? Third, if you want to be in a relationship, you got to be intentional about it. I've been married 23 years. We've been married 24 this summer because I'm intentional. And it does not mean there's been rainbows and unicorns and roses. There's been times we've both been like, I don't even want to talk to you. There's times where I've learned now when I'm getting in my head or in myself, I'm like, I need to go for a walk. I need to lift weights because it's me at this moment. So you have to know where you're at emotionally, but you also have to understand they have emotions, they have thoughts, they have ideas. So I'm going to intentionally build the relationship, and sometimes it's just a thought. Like I would just randomly text you because I'm thinking about you. I'm like, I haven't talked to George, but there's no intent behind it because people can tell when you want something from them or want something for them. And I think that's a balance that's hard to get because again, you have all these people teaching you strategies and tactics without any heart-centered approach. And then you have the we'll just manifest and let it happen. And if I put this post out here, they'll like my flower painting and I can't paint, but they're still going to love me. That doesn't work. You have to have a balance of both. There has to be massive action, but there has to be intentional action with love. And I think for me, with relationship building, with life in general, I do a little bit of both. And then I just try to stay in different people's worlds. I'm like, okay, cool. And then life is seasons. Like there's times when me and you have been super close, and there's times when it might be 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, hey, George, how have you been? It doesn't mean that I don't love you or I'm not wanting to be in your world. My world and who I'm touching is here. Your world and who you're touching is there. And then sometimes it comes back together. So it's like an ebb and flow. Hopefully they answered your question.
It answered my question perfectly. I love it. And I love the intentionality in all of it. I love the tie-in to, the marriage and the relationship, and also like even our relationship. Like, I mean, I don't remember when that event was, but it was a long time ago. Um, yeah, when was
Yeah,
that? Like
it's like 4 years ago. So I've been in this game for 4 years. I went up to Montana to an event, and to give people full disclosure, so there's 6 people there. Supposedly 5 of them bailed, but really I reached out, became friends with them because again, I'm a networker. That's what I do. And all of them said, no, the guy told us it was not going on. And then George shows up and is there for 6 hours. He was supposed to be there for one. And it was one of those things where you have something happens for me, and I'm sure the other people at that event, I know they're in your world and all is cool, but like it launched me to go to your first event or the first event that I went to for you. And I ended up going to
Yep.
3 of them, but it also gave me the courage to start a podcast, to start sales coaching, because even though I was super good at what I was doing, here I didn't see it. I didn't know. Like I was like, oh no, I got lucky, or I just work harder, or woe is me. And then getting in the right room with the right people. Some of my best friends now are from that first meeting. Like I talk to Gabe Arnold all the time.
Yeah.
I talk to Brian Bogart all the time. I talk to Ro and Emily. Like and Michelle. I'm just naming off some of the different people that are popping in my head. Chris. And I think it's comes down to that opened my possibility to wait a minute, I do belong. I do belong there. And the first event I came to, I was like the scared little boy sitting there. I paid for everything. I'm like not talking to anyone. And then by the last event I went to, I can't remember the kid's name. He goes, I watched you. You went around and talked to everyone here. You did it quietly. No one knew you were doing it. But it's like another point. People are watching what you're doing. He goes, but you went and just imparted to everyone in the room. I go, yeah, because this event I came to give, not to get. Not that I didn't get because your events are amazing, but sometimes you're there for a certain reason.
That all reminds me, and I remember, guys, I was asked to keynote this event, and out of respect, I won't say the person's name, and I was told it would be this 100 to 200 person event. I was going to come in for an hour, boom, boom, boom. And then like a couple weeks before, they're like, hey, no one showed up. We got like X amount of people. I'm like, I'm blocked. I'm coming anyways. Like I was just coming to keynote for free. And then I walk in and he's like, can you do more? And I was like, I'll go the whole day. Let me just help. And I made some incredible friends in that room, you being one of them. And I like, it's even like a testament to what we've talked about on this podcast so far. where I was like, I have the time, I have the space, the day was blocked already. Like, here we go. And it worked out wonderfully. And I love also what you said a couple of minutes ago, where you're like, my success boils down to the fact that I'm willing to do things that most people just aren't willing to do consistently. And then, even to your point, where people watch us and they see us, but we have the ability to find these things to tie in what we said earlier that do move the needle. And they might not be comfortable, right? But time blocking and being really intentional where you spend it and when you spend it. I find personally, in a lot of the people that I coach, when they hit their, seven figures and they want to scale up, when I'm helping coach them, one of the things that I see is that they're looking for the dopamine and the high that came from hitting that. But when you chase that, you end up diminishing your results. And I joke with them and I'm like, success really sucks sometimes because it's simple and it can be scheduled. But if we're getting a dopamine hit off it, it's typically not success, it's distraction. Right. And you talking about time blocking and doing this, like you've kind of shared so many golden nuggets and golden tips when it comes to selling, when it comes to how you show up, when it comes to your mindset about how you show up, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to follow up. And so I want to hit you with like a couple like rapid fire ones as we near landing the plane near the end of the show, but something that like this or that kind of vein in this one. I've never done this with anybody, but like with you, I'm so curious. And so as I'm so involved in the sales world, where are you in the lens of script, no script for selling?
In the beginning, you need a script. Once you know what your points are, you need to flow.
Mm, mm. And when it comes to script, are you talking line by line, or are you talking like bumpers so you don't lose your way?
If you're in B2C, line by line, because they said it that way, it works. It's a set system in place that you can do that's repeatable. If it's in B2B, you have to have the flow, the nuance. If you're an entrepreneur and you're working in the consumer market, you got to know how to pivot. And I think what happens is you have the both extremes. You have the people that just free fly all over and no one has a clue where they are. Then you have the people that stick by the script and get thrown off if you don't. You have to have both.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I think the point that you made about even earlier, when you were like, you have to know who your customers are, you have to know what they desire, where they are in their journey, and how you can help them. Those are where your points come in. Because earlier you also said you were talking to a guy and he basically spent the whole time talking about him and himself, which in our world or customer journey world, we call the ego journey, right?
Yep.
When I say, here's an easy reminder, your self-inflation equals their self-deflation, right? And so being able to communicate that, but also allow your humanity and your authenticity through. But once you're aware of what questions that you ask to help understand where they are and where they are in their journey and what they desire, and then you can communicate about what you do and how not it helps you, but how it can help them, then you allow yourself the humanity to kind of be in that. So I love that one. Um, the next one, and I'm super curious about this, and this is maybe not so much of this or that, but like, what are your thoughts? I see people that are like, I can only close by getting on a sales call, or I'll never get on a sales call. I just close via DMs, or I only close via webinar. In your experience, both in the corporate world, but also in the entrepreneurial world, do you think there's this one way, or what are your thoughts on like, it's just this way or this way? I would love your thoughts on that.
There's not just one way. It depends on who you're talking to and how they need it delivered to them.
Mm,
If you're a major league pitcher and you're a closer and you only have two pitches, what happens when those two pitches don't work? You need to, as a sales professional, have multiple pitches. And what I mean by that is different ways to close it. If they want to be closing the DM, great. If they need to get on and see my face and know my emotion and who I am, cool. I'm not a big webinar dude, but I know a bunch of people that make a bunch of money from it, but that's more they're scared to get in front of the client and mess up what they're saying. That goes back to the scripting. Now you'll have a pitch that you're really good at, and that's what you'll lean into. But here's the thing. Are you happy with the money you're getting, the people you're helping, and the world you're building? Or do you want to scale? Because if you want to scale, you have to be adaptable to do all of the above. And then show up in person. Let's do that one. Let's just go knock on a door cold and talk to them because you sent them an email. Now I'm going to get you real scared because now you're like, oh, because you're too worried about what you think they think of you. They're not thinking of you. If you interrupt them, they're not thinking of you. You have 4 seconds to catch their attention on the phone, 15 seconds in person. But if what you're bringing them is super valuable and you can hook them in that first little bit, if I said to you, George, if you listen to me on this, I can change your life. Boom, I've caught you in what you're doing. If I have a product or a service and I know that's what they want, I'm going to go super intentional on what it is they're doing. So, like if I'm talking to a CFO, I'm going to talk to them about enhancing their business and saving them money. If I'm talking to a CEO, I'm like, what's the vision for your company? What initiatives do you have? I want to see if I can partner with you. If I'm talking to a technical guy, I'm like, hey, you do with XYZ. It's again not pitching, it's knowing their world, being involved, and letting them understand that you can help them because guess what? Oh crap, he asked me about what I need. He knows my world. He mentioned things that are important to me. Like if I was going to pitch you, I'd be like, George, I know you love to hike. I know that you love to do cold plunges every once in a while. I know that you really love people. That's what I would start hitting on. Like, you know what, dude, when I was in Montana last time, I did a trail and it was great. Or over here in Arizona, if you ever want to go to hiking down here, though it's hot, don't do it in the summer, it's too hot, but the white tanks in the fall are amazing. Why? Because I know you like it. Second, I like it. You can tell I like doing it, so there's no. And then third, it helps us connect because for thousands of years, men did things together. We
Yeah.
didn't just talk at each other, we would build things together. So if you're building stuff together and you're connecting and you're doing things, that's where the value comes in.
I love it, man. And one more, and this is more so your view on this. You said something earlier of like you do a webinar or you do X or you do Y because you're afraid to connect. And I see this all the time where people take no as a rejection. And I don't take it that way at all. But I also understand my bias now, 20 years of doing this, where don't sit next to me on an airplane because I'm going to know everything about your life. I'm going to know what your desires are. I'm going to know what your goals are. I'm going to tell you what I offer. And I actually, no joke, at 2 a.m. last week on a flight home, I have a new 23-year-old student, engineering student, post grad, who works for Ford, who I'm now mentoring because we got so deep in conversation. But he actually had the balls to text me and say, like, will you just coach me for free? And I was like, yeah, no one's really ever asked that before off an airplane, like 100%, right? So
Mhm.
I realized that like I see this a little bit differently, but you were talking about how many pitches you throw, or
Mhm.
another analogy might be how many times you're at bat to hit your numbers. And I would submit that people, in getting to know what they offer and getting to connect with people, aren't as good at it because they don't practice it much. But when they get a no, they see it as rejection instead of like an opportunity for feedback or how they can adjust. So, like, what is your advice or what are your tips for people dealing with no's?
Oh, I love no's. I search for no's. In fact, the negotiation has not even started till I get a no. Because if someone's saying yes, 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 they're either getting me off the phone or they're a lay down buyer and I don't need to close them. I should have just sent them the payment. They're there. No is not a no now. That's my first question. Is this a no now or a no forever? Is it timing? Is it the offer? Is it that you're just not ready to commit to yourself because you need to believe in what you're doing? What is it that I'm missing here? And I'll ask them that question. What's going on? Is it something that we're doing? Does it not meet your budget, your time frame? What is it? I can work with you if I know. Second, most people don't even get into enough no's. The thing is, in sales and business as an entrepreneur, you should get told no every day, multiple times a day on purpose. Guess what? Because it gets you closer to the yes. I've heard that cliche. No, because it makes you stronger so you understand how to talk to your ideal clients. You understand how to relate to them. So, say I tried to get you to join one of my coaching programs and you said no, but you gave me some inside value. It was the price, or it was how I delivered it, or it didn't land right for you with what you were doing. Great. Now I have data that I can go and I can change, and then I can switch my pitch, for lack of better terms. Again, and we use a baseball analogy. Think of it this way: if you're a 300% hitter, that means out of 7 or 10 bats you hit 3 times, you're a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
You're a
And you
Hall
get
of
paid
Famer.
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and you're not really even. You're not like at 50%. You're nothing. Like, would you want to? But think of it this way: you own a business, you're making 40 million a year. I'm just making up a number, but you get told no 200 times a day and get two yeses. Is it worth making 40 million? The problem is you don't believe that you're worth it or that what you're doing, your service, what it is there. I've had to level myself up. There's been times I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm worth this. And then they can feel that. And what happens is you have to fix it here first. I've mentioned it multiple times. I can teach you strategies and tactics, but until you get in here, who you are, what you're doing, what you bring, and learn to love yourself, it doesn't matter because you're just going to fail and fall and go to the lowest denominator because you're stuck here instead of in the relationship, in the conversation.
Mm. Yeah, and for those that are just listening, when he said up here, he pointed to his head. You have to fix it internally. And it's no different than any intrapersonal relationship you have, like with a partner or a friend. They'll just call you out for being in your head and be like, "Wait, you're not even paying attention to me. What are you thinking about right now?" Right? It's the same game on a different field. And I think the way that I would summarize what Joe said before I ask him the last question is look at no's with like childlike curiosity. Cause I also love how you ask why, which gives us data and feedback of like, well, this helps me understand what I can do differently, or even how I can follow up and text you in 30 days and check in and see how that's going for you. Not because I want a sale, but because you shared something with me and it's important that I help you and you just gave me a piece of data. But it's having that curiosity, not taking it personally, right? Like it's allowing it to shape us and grow us and do that. So I love that. And then last kind of like rapid fire one for people who resonate with this, and they resonate with heart selling closing and being in actual relationships and doing things because they're aligned and they feel right. Do you have like 1 to 3 books or one book or 2 books that you recommend that people read or listen to or understand that align with what you're saying?
Yeah, The Go Giver, Bob Berg. Love that man. Had him on my show. Learned about him
Okay.
because of you. That is one of my favorite sales book ever. Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt, because we're not prospecting enough. And what all prospecting means is getting your message out. You can do it emails, social, phone calls, pigeon, knock on doors, stand outside with a sign, don't care. You need to do more of it. And Atomic Habits. Some of these are like books everyone should know, but James Clear, again, the habits that you do each and every day will show up. You've said it a different way, but success is boring. It's knowing what to do with the known results and being willing to do it even when you don't feel like it. That's the other thing.
Those are all three, and I'm gonna add the prospecting one to my list because that one lands for me. And when I'm in bed and droughts, I'll look back and take a step back. I'm like, oh, I just stopped telling people. And
Mm-hmm.
then magically I open my mouth and everyone's like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, yeah, you want to hire me? Oh, you want to do that? So I love those three. And, for everyone listening, Joe is a dear friend of mine. He's a brother. He's the guy that I go to when people come to me when it comes to empathy and selling and connecting. And he's also just an incredible man. I'm connected with Joe on Instagram and on Facebook, but I've also been on Joe's podcast, and Joe has an incredible podcast. So, Joe, can you tell him like your Instagram and your podcast so they can come get a hold of you?
Yeah. Uh, Instagram's Joe Graham Real, Real, because someone had 8 followers and they won't let me have it. So it's Joe Graham Real on everything but Facebook. Facebook is just my name, and then LinkedIn is Joseph Graham. And then the podcast is the Joseph Graham Show. Our friend Liz Benny told me to come out from behind the curtain. So I used to call it the 150K podcast 4 years ago. If you made 150K anywhere besides New York, San Francisco, and LA, you were doing good. But my podcast has changed so much. I just had a space geologist on, a bunch of other stuff. And Liz is like, you're more than this. Come out from behind the curtain. So, Liz, shout out to you for calling my poop and making me compile there a little bit.
I love Liz Benet. Liz is the queen of removing entrepreneurial constipation. And if you haven't been in the event room with us, and Liz is one of my dear friends, she's the queen of kapowing you, but removing crap. And so, Joe, I love this conversation. I love talking to you, man. I thank you for coming on today. I thank you for being here. Thank you for pouring in. Thank you for sharing everything. And for everybody listening, I know this to be true. If you have questions, if you're curious, if he opened any loops of like, but what about this? What about this? Just ask him. I promise you, he will get back to you. He will get back to you faster than probably anybody else. And he loves answering and helping. And so reach out. And so, Joe, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me, George. Love you, my friend.
Of course, man. I love you. And so for everybody listening, take one thing that landed, right? Don't ever let this become shelf help. But there was nuggets and wisdom in here, from life to business to selling to knowing your offer, believing in your offer, pitching enough, prospecting enough, following up, being intentional with your time, being intentional with your actions. There's a lot. And so take whichever one resonated, but then do yourself the service, just like Joe said in Models and Embodies. Take that thing and do it consistently so that you can reap the reward, see the benefits from it, and keep making adjustments. And so we will either see you in the next episode or you will hear me in your earballs. But either way, it's been another episode of the Mind of George Show. We love you all. God bless, and we'll see you soon.